Hi everyone, it's Better again. Welcome to another video on this channel. If you are new here, please subscribe because I upload a video per week and you will never regret it. I always upload videos. Every week. Every week there's a video for me. Okay? So please subscribe and join us to not miss anything in the future. So let's dive into our topic for today and we will talk about the Eloquent relationships in Laravel. Okay? So in software development in general, we have some things or entities in general, like if we want to do some students in our software, we will have a student entity. And if we want to do books, we will have a book entity, and these things are linked together as the client wants and as the requirements set. Okay, so these relationships are applicable in Laravel through the Eloquent. So if you want to grab some information from the database and there are links between these models, you will be able to grab the information that's related to that information with one line of code without joining tables. Okay, that's a piece of introduction. So I will read the documentation because I noticed that this topic is highly requested among Laravel community and among the students or among the people who want to learn Laravel, but they stop here and they always ask what is the how to implement the relationships in Laravel. Okay, so now I will just read the documentation and show you how to grab the information from the documentation, because the documentation or the information is always in the documentation and you just need to know how to read it and how to get the information from it. And also, additional to the reading from the documentation, it's always a trial and fail. So I read the documentation once and I failed, then I read it again and I read some forms and then I understood what the documentation said. Okay, so it's not that I'm super powered, but I just tried and failed and I understood the documentation. And last thing, that I will use Laravel 7 because I built a project for this tutorial, and then Laravel released, the next day Laravel released the 8th version of Laravel. And I checked it out. The Eloquent relationships, or the relationships in general, didn't have lots of changes. So, and also if you use Laravel 6 with these things that I'm going to say, it's always the same. Even the latest 5 versions of Laravel will be applicable in our examples here, because these are general things and they don't have anything that changes between the versions, because these things are static and they are general and they don't really change among the versions. So you can use 8th, you can use 7th, you can use the 6th. I don't know if the 5th is applicable because I learned the latest 5. It was there, but the details are forgotten for me. So let's get started. So now we have here the Laravel page, the Laravel documentation, and also I have prepared a project that I will leave the link in the description. I'm only presenting the data from the database, nothing very interesting. It's only tables. And we will see the details of this project in a minute. So I will leave a link for this project in the description. It will be a GitHub repository. And also I have here a database and it's already seeded with data. So you will find everything here, okay? When you download the project, you'll find it here. So let's go to this photo. Here I have a figure about the relationships that are in the project. So here we have a one-to-one relationship between the users and the addresses. Okay, so one man can say that, or one person can say that I can make, or you can make that the addresses are linked to, or the user can have more than one address. And it's true, you can make that, but I have a virtual client here, and that client told me that I want each user to have only one address. Okay, so he said that I want each user to have only one address, and notice the syntax here, or notice what I'm saying. And he said also that I want the address to be owned by one user. Okay, so let's see how to apply this thing to our code. Let's head back to the documentation and see the one-to-one relationship. And we will see that if we have a example here, or you know what, let me show you the code in my VS Code, because it has the same syntax and the same naming conventions, so it will not misunderstand, or we will not have a misunderstanding here. So if we want to make a relationship between two models, we will add a function in each model to represent that relationship, because this is a relationship, or this part of the link is a relationship, and this is also a relationship. So we need to apply it in the both sides of the relationships, or in the both sides of the models. So let's go now to the addresses model, or address model, and we will find here a single function that says that public function user, and you can name this user whatever you want, and it returns this belongs to user class. And if you remember what I said, that the address is owned by one user, and this is belongs to one user. Okay, so that's how you use the one-to-one relationship in this case. And if we go to the users model, or to the user model, we will find here that we have a address function, and this name is, you can name it whatever you want, but we will use it later, so make sure to remember what you named it here. Okay, so we have here an address function, and inside this address function, this function returns the this and HasOne. Remember that I said that the user owns or has one address. So this is the one-to-one relationship. It belongs to from one side and HasOne from the other side. And make sure to type the address class here. So the relationship here is between the user and the address. Okay, so if we go to the controller now, where I'm like retrieving the data from the database, I have the index function, and I'm only using one page to represent all of this data. So we have multiple variables here, or multiple calls for the database, and we are returning them. Nothing special here, but we can find that there is some special keywords here, and we will go through them in a minute. So the first one is straightforward. I'm only getting the all users from the database. Okay, the user model, and I'm calling all users. So this will give me users in an array. And if we go to the model, or to the view, sorry, we will find that at the top we have a for each here, and it's looping through the users as a user, and it's printing the name and the email. And if we go to the project here, we will find that this is the table and this is the for each, and we can find that the username and the email, and there are usernames and there are emails for the users. Okay, cool. Now let's move on to the next step, which is the one-to-one calling relationship. So this is the variable I'm using, users addresses, and you can remember that the users tables and the addresses table are linked together. Okay, so first I'm calling the user model, okay, and I'm calling this with keyword, and inside with I will call the function that is used in the model. So if we go to the user model, and you can see that it's in the user model, if we go back to the user model, we will find this function. Okay, if we call this addresses, you will call it in the controller as addresses. Okay, makes sense? I think that makes sense. So if we go back to the controller, we will find that I'm getting the users, and then I'm getting with that give me the related information for the particular user. So it will make something like a join, and if you don't know the join is something like this. This is table A, which represents the user, and this is table B, which represents the addresses. Okay, and I'm getting all of the users that has addresses in the addresses table. In my case, all users have addresses in the database. So if there is a user didn't enter his address, then this user will not be like retrieved in this example. So that's the case. And this is the join. That's what's happening. Let's move back to the controller and see what we are getting here. We are using the keyword get to get the information from the database, because this returns something like a result from the database, and you have to use the get keyword to get the information from the database, because this is a return of a request or something like that. If you return only this without a get, you will get an error because you are accessing the variables that they aren't exists because you didn't get them. Okay, long story. So let's now just let me show you something. Let me just remove this comment from the die and dump function, and let me save and let me refresh my browser here to take a deeper look. I have in my database 9 users, and you can check them here. If I go to the users, you can find here 9 users, and that's true because I have an array of 9. And if we go to the let's go to the structure and go to the address, no, not the structure, let's go to the addresses table, and we will find here that we have 9 addresses. Okay, and here I got an array of 9. If I opened it, I will find the 9 elements. If I open the first one, I will find here the attributes. These are the attributes that in the users table. Okay, and inside here I will find the relations, and if I opened it, I will find the relation of address, and this is what we are going to use in the blade to get the address information. If you want to get something from the address relationship, we will use this keyword or this variable name. So let's open the attributes, and these attributes are used or are represented in the address table. Okay, so here we have a country, city, details, something like that. We will get them in the blade or in the front end side. So let's go to the let's just comment this out and save and refresh here and go to the home again to get the table. And you can see here that we have here an extended table. We have here a username, email, and also we have a country, city, street, which we didn't get here because we didn't retrieve them and we didn't link them together in the backend. Okay, let's now take a look at the loop here to see what's happening in real life. So if we go here to the second row, which contains the user addresses table, and here we have this table, and inside here we have a for each looping through the user's addresses. Okay, and we are extracting the name from the user addresses, makes sense, extracting the email from the user's addresses, also makes sense. And now when we want to access something inside the addresses table, we will use this keyword. So we are going inside the user's addresses, we are going a step inside to the address, and then we are accessing the country attribute inside the address. Okay, similarly we will access the city through the address, and we will target the street through the address variable. Make sense? Everything is clear for now. So all of these information are mentioned in the documentation, and one thing I want to mention here, that you need to follow some naming conventions when you name the tables and when you name the the foreign keys. Now in the relationship, I didn't mention that in the photo here. You can see here that the users and the addresses are linked via the foreign keys. So the addresses table left a foreign key here named address underscore table underscore ID. Okay, so that's how to link the one-to-one relationship, which is leaving a key, leaving the primary key in the other table as a foreign key. Okay, similarly, because this is a one-to-one relationship, users table left the user ID in the addresses ID in the addresses table. Okay, I hope that I'm speaking well today. So that's how the one-to-one relationship is connected. Each table leave the primary key in the other table as a foreign key. Okay, and notice that I named this as a user's ID, address underscore ID, and also I named this as a user underscore ID, and all of the foreign key are named in the same format, because this is the default format of Laravel. Now, if you want to use another format, you can use it and you can mention it here. For example, if I name this as FK, foreign key, underscore, addresses, underscore ID, okay, which is not the default format for the foreign keys, okay? Some people name the foreign keys like that. So I will have to mention it in here, that FK underscore addresses underscore ID, or the address underscore ID, okay? If you changed the name of the default naming convention, you will have to mention that you named this as this, okay? And that is how to, like, this is now the inverse of the one-to-one relationship. Here they declare it as HasOne, and here they are declaring it as BelongsTo, as we talked about it in the code. And now let's jump into the one-to-many relationship. Okay, let's first go to the figure here, or to the entity relationship diagram, AR diagram. Okay, here we can find the one-to-many relationship is between the users and the this should be orders. Okay, it's a typo. This is the orders. So the users and the orders has like a one-to-many relationship, because the user can have multiple orders, and the order, the single order, is owned by only one user. Okay, so you can see here that the relationship here is changed from here. Okay, it's many relationships, or many values, or many records in the table, and here is only one. And to implement this in the foreign key and the primary key thing, the products or the orders table will have only the user ID, because we might have here in this table 3 rows for the single user, and it's not efficient to save all of them in this table, because there are 3 and they can be 4, they can be 5, they can be 6, they can be infinity. Okay, so it's not good to save the key in the users table. So what we do that we take the user, the single user table, and we save it in the order row, or the order record, so that we know that this order belongs to that user. Okay, now let's jump to the code and see the product, the orders table, or the order model, and see also the user model. Let's go to the code, and here we can find the order model, and we have here a single function, and this function is called user. Okay, and by the way, you might have not, or you can to not type these functions in the order model, because when we are in this example getting the data from the database, we are only using the users model, which is here in the controller. You can find that we call the user, we call the user again, we call the user again, and that's because we are using these functions here. Okay, we are not using the reverse functions. But also, if you have the case that you want to use the reverse type of the relationship, you will have to configure it in everywhere, and it's a good practice to configure the relationship everywhere, because so if another programmer or another developer took your code, he will understand that he will see that here's BelongsTo, and in the other side he will see that HasMany, so he will know that this relationship is one-to-many. Okay, so it's good to have it rather than don't have it. Okay, so here we can see that the order belongs to one user. Okay, makes sense. And if we go to the user model, we will find that the order has many, or the order or the user has many orders. Okay, so this is the orders function that we are going to use in the controller. Okay, let's go now to the controller and see this function. We are now getting the relationship from this to this variable that we are going to access it in the blade, and we are getting the users, all the user model with, and I used this syntax or this braces for the array because I want to get the addresses of the user, or the address of the single user, and also I want to get the orders of that users. So here I'm getting this relationship in addition to this relationship. Okay, so I'm going to like target or get two relationships. So that's doable in Laravel by using an array here. So I'm passing an array to this function with the relationships that I want to get them, and I want to get this data. So let's just remove the comment, and let's paste this variable here, and let's refresh our page to get the result from here to see it clear. And here we can see that if I open the first user, here we have the same result as we saw in the previous one. And here you can see that the relationship has an array of two arrays. One array called an address and another array called an orders. Okay, we saw this one. Now let's take a look to this one. And this one also has an array of 4. Okay, so we have an array inside an array because the orders are multiple orders. They are not singular order. When we opened this order here, or this address here, we found only 1. But here we will find 4, we will find 5, we will find 10, 100, 1,000. Okay, depending on the user. If he's has lots of money and he is ordering from the store, then he is a good customer. So now we can see here also the attributes of this order. Okay, and we can see also the attributes of the second order, as we can see. So here are the orders of that user. Let's remove the comment and see how did we implement it, or how we can see it in the front side. Let's refresh this black page, and we will find not the first, not the second, the third table. I made it as a collapse. Okay, so here I have the user with the information of the user, the information and the address of the user, and inside here I will have another table for the orders for this user. Okay, so this user has four orders, and the other user has 5 orders, and this guy also has 5 orders. So we can see that there's a loop here looping through the users, and also we have a loops here looping through the orders. Let's go to the blade and see how did we implement this. So this is the users, addresses, and orders. So we have the big for loop here, which is looping through the big variable which has everything. Okay, and we are extracting the data of the user from this variable, as we saw in the previous table. Okay, and then when we want to access, notice that the end of this for each is here, the big for each. We have a nested loop here, so we have a big for each, and inside it we will have a second for each, which is here. And this for each is looping through the small variable. This variable is the one which is here, not the first one, not the big one in the controller. No, the second one that we declared in the for each that we are going to access. So we are looping through the users, here's the for each. We are looping through the this variable, and we are extracting the orders from it. Okay, remember that the relationship is named orders. So we are like looping through them using this, or extracting the information from this variable here. So we can see that we are getting the order status, and we are getting the order date and the shipping date. So that's how to extract the information from the one-to-many relationship, and also the inverse is the same. Okay, so that is it with the one-to-many relationship, but let's just read the things in the documentation. So as the by the way, I used another like type of calling the class, which is, let me show you. I used something like this. I'm calling the order and then a class. Okay, and I can use the path of the model. Use whatever you want, it doesn't matter. Okay, so here they are declaring the HasMany relationship, and they are looping through them. And here is the name of the relationship. And also, if you name the foreign key as something else, you have to mention it here, similar to the one-to-one relationship. All right, everything is cool, everything is fine. Now let's move on to the many-to-many relationship. Okay, and this relationship requires you to like add an extra table in your database, which is this small table. Okay, we have here a relationship between a many-to-many relationship between users and products, and this relationship is going through this table. Okay, this table contains the user's ID and also product's ID. Okay, and in addition, I saw that I can add any fields or any columns in this table. So I thought that, or my client said that he wants to know the quantity that the user is linked to the product. So maybe I'm like linked to product A and I'm linked with the quantity of 2 or 3 or whatever. So the client wants to know the quantity of the linking. Okay, so you can see that I applied it using a third table, and this table is called the pivot table, which is the thing in between the tables. And now let's jump to the code and see how did I apply this. Let's go to the user model. It's here, and I have a products products function here, and here I make this line, small line here. Okay, it's not small, we have an extra semicolon. Programs love semicolons when you add them, but they are terrible when you remove them. Okay, it didn't throw an error because we have an extra semicolon, but when you lose it, oh my god, red everywhere. So here we have a this, like every relationship, and we have also here belongs to many. So this product belongs to many users. Okay, and also we added here the name of the class. Okay, this user belongs to many products with pivot quantity, and this is because I have an extra variable. If I named my user ID and my product's ID different than the default naming convention of Laravel, I will have to mention them here because Laravel expects only two, which are the user ID and the product ID. And if they found something else, they will say that they didn't found that because you didn't mention that they are different. Okay, so when I have an extra thing or a thing changed, I will have to mention it here. Okay, and also, or let me mention it right here. Notice that I named my table. Where is my table? Product user. Okay, product in singular. Notice that in singular I made a terrible mistake naming it in plural, and I debugged for an hour and then I found out that this is the right thing. And product underscore user. Why is the product is the first one and why is the user is the second one? Because of the alphabetical arrange, or P comes before U in the alphabetical English letters. Okay, so make sure to count them and know which one is first, so you will put it first. Okay, that's how the default name of pivot table in Laravel. If you change it, if you want to name it like my products, you will have to mention it in the model. And let's see how this goes. Okay, we will have something like, yeah, here it is. You will have to mention the table name in the relationship because you changed it. But if you use the default name, you will have nothing to do in addition. But for me, I have something in addition that to call the extra column that I wanted to call. Okay, let's see the relationship in the product side, and here is the relationship. Actually, because I didn't use the relationship here, I didn't have to add the pivot to the with pivot function, but for safety I will have to add it here, but I didn't use it yet. That's why it didn't throw any errors. But if you want to use it in the future, the method in the or the function in the product model, you will have to add it. Okay, so that's how I declared my relationship in the models. Now let's go to the controller and see how did I get that information. So I used here an array, and I can remove this array, but just leave it alone because it's like this. Don't touch any code that works, okay? But it doesn't matter if you remove it. Now we have the products users, okay, with products like any other relationship. It doesn't matter in the controller side. You are calling the relationship and naming the relationship and declaring the relationship is in the model side. And also I am passing the variable to the view, and let's go here first to the project first, or let's view it in the die and dump. Let's go here. Oops. And let's refresh here. Also, I have 9 users. These are the users, or the information of the users table. And I have a relationship here, which is the products. And the product has a relationship or an array. And this array has an attributes. And these attributes are here. And we can find the original attributes, which we are going to like target these things. Okay, we are not going to target these things. Let's now go to the controller and comment out this and refresh this. And go down to the user's products. And similar to the upper one, oh, here we don't have. When I added some data to the database, I added products to the even users. So you can find here products, but here's an odd user, here's an even user. Okay, so you can find here in the second user, you can find products with the names and also the quantity that's in the middle table. And let's go to the code and see how the for loop is done. This is the last thing in our video for today. We can find, okay, this is the big for each. Okay, this is the end of the for each. And here's the inner for each. Okay, and we are accessing the small variable that is in the second part of the video, or in the not the video, oh my god, of the loop. Okay, and we are getting the product, the relationship name, to the product user. And here we are accessing the product user, product name, product user category, product user product price, and finally the quantity is accessed by going through the pivot variable. Okay, so we're going through the product user pivot quantity. Make sense? That makes a lot of sense, a lot of sense to me. Okay, so that's it. Let's go through the documentation now real quick. And it's all in the documentation. Everything we talked about is in the documentation. Also, if you want to create, I didn't do it. You can see here in the many-to-many in the pivot table, we have created and also an updated add fields. If you want to add values to these things, you can add this function here with timestamps, and when you add it and seed the database, you will get the timestamps of the adding the products here. Okay, just a quick note, quick hack. And also that's it for the relationships for Laravel. And also that's it for this video for now. I hope you took something useful from it. If you do, subscribe to this channel and share this video to your friends who are asking about relationships. They will get information. And if you need any useful topic you want to talk about, or you want me to talk about, just comment it down in the comments section, and I will do my best to record it to you and teach it to you. Thank you for watching for now. I really appreciate it. Thank you again, and bye.